please give it up for Matt the Brat McCusker.
Give it up for Nerds on Fairmount. This is awesome.
Matt McCusker was never supposed to end up in comedy. Not if you looked at the early signs. The guy bounced between majors, worked whatever jobs paid the bills, wrote an actual novel on the side, and spent years trying to make sense of life through meditation and armchair shamanism. Nothing about that path pointed towards stand-up. And yet, somehow, he's now half of a podcast that broke the entire Patreon system and a comic with a Netflix special. His origin story doesn't start with ambition. It starts with a writer looking for direction, a self-taught shaman trying to figure out what any of it meant. And the way all of that eventually funneled into comedy is what makes his story so surprising. He grew up in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. Irish Catholic family, blue-collar roots, the kind of place where comedy wasn't a career path anyone discussed over dinner. And for most of his early life, McCusker wasn't discussing it either. He went to Drexel University, switched his major multiple times, by his own account, spent a lot of time getting high and trying to figure things out. Then worked a series of jobs that had nothing to do with each other. The resume of someone still figuring it out. The comedy thing started almost by accident. His first joke at a Helium Comedy Club open mic was about Chris Hansen being a glorified snitch. Not exactly revolutionary material. But something clicked. He started hitting every mic in Philadelphia, grinding it out, learning the craft the hard way. By 2014, he won Philly's Funniest. Not bad for someone who stumbled into comedy without a master plan. The win opened doors. Radio gigs, television spots, sharing stages with national headliners. For most comedians, that's the launch pad to full-time comedy. But here's where it gets weird. McCusker kept working regular jobs. He was supposed to appear on a local TV news show once. Showed up incredibly stoned. Couldn't answer questions coherently. They scrapped the segment. That's the McCusker brand in a nutshell. Meanwhile, he was also writing, like actually writing. In 2018, he published a novel called Overlook. Not a comedy book, a full-blown piece of fiction about 5 dysfunctional neighbors in a blue-collar community dealing with a missing person case. The reviews called it unflinching, gritty, a Spielbergian capture of small-town America if Spielberg rolled in dust before filming. The book features an elderly sex offender, an abusive veteran, a troubled teenager, a girl selling pain pills, and a stoner trying to hold it together. It gets pretty dark. And McCusker wrote it while working as a comedian and doing odd jobs. Then in 2020, something truly bizarre happened. McCusker earned a master's degree in social work from Bryn Mawr College. He actually went to graduate school and studied mental health, meditation, and psychological well-being. He even briefly launched a content project called Psych Naw, focused on mental health education. A stand-up comedian with a social work master's. You can't make this up. And yet, through all of this, the podcast with Shane Gillis kept growing. They started Matt and Shane's secret podcast in 2016. 2 Philly comics talking about whatever came to mind. Uncensored, unfiltered. The kind of show that gets you in trouble if clips go viral at the wrong moment. Which is exactly what happened to Gillis. In 2019, he got hired by Saturday Night Live. Then fired 5 days later after old podcast clips resurfaced. The controversy could have tanked everything. Instead, it launched them into a different stratosphere. The podcast became the #1 Patreon in the world. Over 70,000 paying subscribers, 5.5 million downloads per month. Louis C.K. appeared, Danny McBride, Mark Normand, Theo Vaughn, Tim Dillon, Bobby Lee, and more. McCusker became the steady presence, the guy keeping the ship from capsizing while Gillis riffed. But steady doesn't mean boring. His bits about fatherhood and masculinity and wellness struck a chord. Fans loved the casual poise, the dry wit mixed with candid storytelling. In August 2023, he released his debut special, The Speed of Light, self-released on YouTube, filmed at Helium Comedy Club in Philadelphia. The special covered parenthood, relationships, intimacy after kids, topics most comics either sentimentalize or avoid. McCusker went straight at them with zero filter. The special hit almost 4 million views. No network, no big promotional push, just word of mouth from podcast fans and comedy heads who recognized real material when they heard it. Meanwhile, Gillis got his Netflix deal, created a sitcom called Tires, asked McCusker to play Max the Cop. Small role, scene stealing enough that people noticed. He also appeared in Gillian Keeves, the sketch series Gillis made with John McKeever. By then, McCusker had 2 kids, a wife named Brittany who works as a forensics expert for the Philadelphia police. The kind of stable home life that doesn't usually coexist with late-night comedy club grinding. And yet, he kept at it. Netflix brought McCusker in for his own special, A Humble Offering, directed by Tyler Falbo. The special dropped in October 2025, covering homelessness, race relations, and how to seduce his wife after years of marriage. He also launched an animated series, The Papa John Paradox. 4 shorts directed by Big Mouth's Frank Gidlewski, written, produced, and starring McCusker. Because why not add animation to the list of things he's doing? His career doesn't follow any recognizable pattern. Novelist turned social work student turned comedian turned podcaster. Most people pick a lane. McCusker built his own system. Critics still struggle to categorize him. He's not a shock comic, not a storyteller in the classic sense, not cerebral or absurdist. He occupies this weird middle ground where observational comedy meets philosophical inquiry meets complete lack of pretense. The social work degree actually makes sense when you watch him perform. There's an empathy underneath the jokes, an understanding of human dysfunction that doesn't feel performative. He studied enough to know everyone's faking it at some level. The novel explains the rest. McCusker can construct narrative. He understands character, knows how to build tension and release it. Those skills translate directly to stand-up. On the podcast, that's where all of it converges. The wellness exploration, the writing chops, the comedy instincts, the willingness to say what most people only think. He's never been the loudest voice in the room, never the guy demanding attention, but he's built something undeniable, a career that exists on his own terms. No gatekeepers, no compromises. The Philly comedy scene produced him, but it didn't define him. He took the tools from that world and added everything else he'd learned along the way. At the 2025 ESPY Awards, Shane Gillis introduced a woman in the audience as a WNBA All-Star, then revealed it was actually Brittany McCusker. That bit went exactly as expected. The dogs loved it, but the woke crowd, not so much.
4-time WNBA All-Star Brittany Hicks is here. Give it up for Brittany, everybody. I'm joking around. That's my friend's wife. I knew none of you knew WNBA players.
But it showed how chill McCusker's wife really is. They got married in the late 2010s. They keep their personal life private. No social media overexposure, no reality show aspirations, just 2 people raising kids while one of them happens to be very funny for a living. There's no dramatic fall and redemption arc here, no sudden breakthrough moment. Just consistent work across multiple disciplines until people realized this guy's actually exceptional at all of them. His upcoming projects include a 2nd book, more animated shorts, continued appearances on Tires, and obviously, the podcast isn't going anywhere. McCusker's generation of comics came up in a different era. They didn't need SNL or late-night appearances to build careers. They built direct relationships with audiences through podcasts and YouTube and Patreon. And McCusker understood that earlier than most. He never chased traditional validation, never seemed bothered by being the lesser-known half of the podcast, just kept doing the work. By the time mainstream success arrived, he'd already built something more valuable, a body of work that reflected his actual interests and abilities, not what the industry thought he should be. Philly comics have a reputation. Tough crowds, no mercy for weak material. McCusker came through that system, won their respect, then took everything he learned and applied it to every other thing he tried. The social work experience gives him credibility in spaces most comics can't access. The novel proves he's more than just joke construction. The podcast demonstrates consistency over years. The specials show he can deliver when it counts. And through it all, he maintained the same laid-back presence, the same dry delivery, the same refusal to oversell anything. Most surprising origin stories involve some dramatic pivot. This one's different. It's about someone who refused to choose, who kept adding skills and experiences until the combination became something unique. McCusker didn't reinvent comedy. He just brought everything else with him when he showed up. Sometimes the most surprising thing is watching someone succeed by completely ignoring the playbook. And that's exactly why the Dawgs love their Shaman.